Recovery on Air, the official podcast of Crossroads Addiction Rehabilitation. Candid discussion about addiction and recovery with the people who have lived it, along with input from experts on the journey from struggle to triumph. Laugh, cry, and be inspired. And now, your host for Recovery on Air, Kristen Day.
Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Recovery on Air, where we talk about the good, the bad, the miracles. Today, I'm super excited because I don't have any idea about anything. So, Brian, thank you for coming in. I'm super excited to get all these, all the stuff. So,
you don't know who you brought into the studio.
I met you at Gordon's 35-year anniversary, and I was like, 31 years sober, and you're Jess's friend? You're in. You're hired.
You got me in.
I did.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, the one thing that I do love about you is that you still go to Crossroads East and say, hey, I got some stuff that needs to be done, and can I borrow a couple guys? So that's like really old school stuff. So I like that because it shows those guys, especially being a newcomer and letting them know and getting their foot in the door.
Yeah, I think it shows them. It certainly helps me, and not only because I'm there to find some help, but
right.
Working with others.
Gotcha.
Working with others.
Absolutely.
And I am familiar with both Crossroads East and West.
Okay.
I have to get my bearings, which is which, but I have a business over on the west side.
35th Avenue in Orangewood is west, and then the 51 is east.
And then the 51 in Mckew is east.
Yes.
And east is where I started.
Okay. How long ago?
A long time ago. I was riding a bicycle, and not because I was young. I was riding a bicycle because I had lost my license.
Oh,
and that was 1993.
Wow.
And I had once again found myself without transportation and fearful to drive because I was a drink and drive. I was drive without a license.
Gotcha.
I was that kind of guy.
For
so
sure.
I was riding my bicycle down to
Mckew.
Crossroads.
Okay.
Mckew.
And what is your sobriety date?
My sobriety date, April 11th, 1994.
Wow.
So that was 30. Actually, and it began just a bit before that. It was August of 1993 when I first, wasn't my first introduction to AA or recovery, but it was it was my final. I guess it was the beginning of my actual sobriety.
It was your
August
rock bottom.
of 93.
Yeah.
It was my bottom. It was my jumping off point. So yeah, August of 93, April 11th, 1994 is my sobriety date.
What was childhood like before we get into the good stuff? But
I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that on the way over. I think a lot of people today associate addiction and alcoholism and many of our challenges with traumas.
yeah.
And I had my share of traumas, natural life, human trauma. I'm a proponent of the doctor's opinion,
Okay.
of a medical type side to
Yeah.
this, that I think I may have been born alcoholic, but I certainly flipped a switch, and perhaps I could have stopped. There's those
Parents,
lines too.
alcohol,
Parents,
normal.
they're not identified. They didn't identify as
Gotcha.
alcoholic, although I found things that said, sure, there was a tendency, but it was the 40s and the 50s, I think, for
Gotcha.
them growing up. So drinking was certainly prevalent. Smoking cigarettes was prevalent.
Yeah.
But I didn't recognize any alcoholism in my family.
Got
no.
you. Okay. So you get into recovery. What happens before any of that? Like, when did you start using drugs and alcohol? How old were you?
So I'm 66. So I'm born in 59.
Okay.
So when's my first introduction? I remember the parties. I remember leftover. I liked the onion dip, but maybe there were some drinks too. Maybe I'm sipping on a leftover. I doubt I was. Did I take a swig out of a can of beer with a cigarette butt in it? Probably. That seemed to be an occurrence
For
when
sure.
you were a teenager. I had older brothers and sisters, and pot was prevalent
Okay.
and always around, certainly before legalized marijuana or medicinal. So we had to earn our marijuana.
Right.
We had to go find it and steal it and buy it, or,
Yeah.
get it on the street.
Don't want to do that no more.
Well, I don't know. No, I don't want to. I don't know who does, but
With them lacing everything, I tell them don't buy it on the streets. That's for
Really?
sure. Yeah.
well, so probably in my mid-teens, 15 years old, I started experimenting. I was interested, and maybe it's the addictive personality that. And I was just in Florida. I returned last night, and I went to a cousin's funeral, 70 years old.
Wow.
Right, and there were other cousins there and friends, and they were telling stories, and one struck me because I had a similar experience of sneaking into the woods, stealing cigarettes from our parents and matches, and smoking at 6 years old. Now, is that addictive behavior? What is that a precursor
I
to?
mean,
Seemed normal to me.
yeah, absolutely.
And there was an instigator. My older brother was the one dragging me and encouraging me. So
Listen, I'm guilty of that too. I made my little sister, I think, I made her smoke her first cigarette. Just do it. It's
now there's probably
fine.
some people who say no and turn around. There's probably others who tell their parents, and
Right.
maybe that's their first intervention. But nobody said anything. We got caught a few times, and we were spanked or chastised. But so I had an early experiences, right? In youth at 6 years old, at 15. I kind of had an experience at 16, 17, smoking pot, drinking. I didn't know what alcoholism was. I didn't know
Right.
what drug addiction was. But I look back and I see now where, as the book describes, there was a lack of control early, right? And that seems to be a theme of the alcoholic. And I describe as an alcoholic. I can say drug addict as well. I experimented with much. I came to believe that at a point, it's a big umbrella. And when you say alcoholic, you cover the
everything.
gamut. Right.
Yeah.
Now, with other addictions today, I understand maybe there is no issue with alcohol. I don't know. But for me, it was alcohol with a smattering of
Others. I got you. So did something happen in growing up? When did your addiction finally take over that you started having consequences and
Yeah. Well, certainly a lot of things happened. One thing that happened was college.
okay,
That was a big event.
partying?
Partying and
Yeah.
or freedom, and I say that jokingly because there was also an earlier event. I lost my dad. He died young. He died in his sleep, and I tried to wake him. So that was the trauma event.
Absolutely.
I think in Bill Wilson's story, his autobiography, he describes losing a very early love and a girlfriend that maybe was a shift in his life.
Right.
Was losing my father a shift in my life for my,
How old were you?
I was 13 or 14.
Okay.
And definitely a very big trauma. I don't associate it. Maybe somebody would help me to do
Yeah.
it with drinking. But later, college certainly was, and it was encouraged. And it being the consumption of alcohol, the experimentation. But again, I don't think everybody did.
Yeah.
I certainly did.
Right. And all we have is just our stories, you know. So, so what were you going to college for?
What was I going to college for? You went to college because you were told to go to college.
Right.
That was my life. I had a nice enough life where I don't know if I respected my parents. I I didn't obey them because I was very sneaky. You know, another underlying little backstory of perhaps many addicts and alcoholics. We were sneaky. I'm
Absolutely.
sneaky. I lie. But they didn't know that
Yeah.
particularly because on the surface I was kept
Holding it
things
all
smooth.
together,
But my
yeah.
mother said, "You're going to college." I said no. She said, "You're going to college." I repeated, "No, I'm not." She made me, and I wanted to not be, at odds with her. I applied to a single college, and they accepted me. And so
You got no choice. You're
off
going
I-
to college.
Off I went, and I was the first of. I had 3 older siblings, 2 younger.
Gotcha.
I was the fourth in my line, but I'm the first to go to college. She drops me off on the corner when we get there and says, "You'll do fine." And left. I had no place to live.
Wow.
It was pretty interesting.
Wow. What college did you go to?
I went to what was Bentley College in outside of Boston, Waltham, Mass, and now
Gotcha.
Bentley University. It was a pretty well-known business school.
Okay.
I test well. I don't apply myself always.
I get it. So, college, your addiction starts festering more, getting bigger.
I guess it's certainly getting bigger, right? The book describes a progression.
Absolutely.
And so my first experiences with pot and with alcohol scared me. The loss of control, the consequence. And I would often describe, as you said, when did the consequences get bigger? And throughout my early addictions, in my early 20s, the consequences seemed to be getting bigger. In college, it means missing classes and skipping work. I was fired from jobs. I got
Gotcha.
a job in a I'm laughing because I remembered I got a job in a liquor store.
Heck yeah.
And then I was told to stock the cooler, and I was back there, and probably for every, so many minutes of work, I would have a beer or whatever.
You were
else.
popping bottles in
I'm
the
popping
back.
bottles,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
Within a short time, I'm pretty schnozzled and trashed. And it had never happened before, I was called out to work the register.
Okay.
For some reason, he says, "You come out here, you're on register." And I was 3 sheets
Annihilated.
to the
Yes.
wind. I got fired on this. It took about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Are you drunk? Sure, yes.
That's great. So going through college, I mean, obviously you learn how to party there. And yeah. So what happens?
What does happen? It just, you control it, right? It's I go back to the book because the book to me became really a means to understand whether I was alcoholic. And I think the way the book describes it, it says the goal or the ideal of every alcoholic is to control their drinking, something like that.
Yeah.
And later, as I was trying to determine, because of our necessity to self-diagnose, right? Is a doctor going to take a blood sample or put you through a battery of tests? Who determines you're alcoholic?
Right.
Kind of often. Now, maybe there are lots of medical means to say, look, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to self-diagnose. But I think for myself, there was a am I or aren't I? But in reading the book, when I got to that point, at the time I'm starting to understand how to get sober, it says as an alcoholic, we had lost the ability to control our drinking.
Yeah.
So I think for me, those early years were experiments in control. And maybe that's how it is for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
book describes it. We're going to eat first. We're going to do this. Never drink in the morning. Only drink.
For sure.
It goes on and on.
Beer
and on.
before liquor, all them good things. Yeah.
Never on a Tuesday.
Yep.
If it's raining.
Anything that ends in Y. No, I get it. I mean, for a while, I did not identify as an alcoholic. I was only an addict. Like, I could stop drinking, and then I was like, oh, I can just drink like a lady. And one shot leads to a gallon of Fireball and getting my stomach pumped, and here we go. And then 28 days later, I got a needle back in my arm. So, when did you seek recovery? Did you go to treatment? Did you go to detox?
So I was a drinker and driver.
Okay.
I drank and drove. Never thought it to be dangerous or risky or wrong. I thought it was normal.
Right.
I close one eye now because I see double.
Right.
I guess I closed one eye then because I saw double, but it was induced by
By
overconsumption
drinking,
of
for
alcohol,
sure.
right? And,
For sure.
and so it started in high school, but then through college, drinking and driving, and ultimately, I started to rack up points, and
Did you get DUIs?
I did not get DUIs.
Lucky.
Very lucky, and I avoided them, but I would get points, and there was a point system such that you get enough points, they would suspend
Your
license
license.
for a few weeks or months or years. Ultimately, it came to be years.
Okay.
And it was such that at a point I had to leave the state of Florida because I had been suspended for 5 years. And
Wow.
I was working, and I'm out of college now. But that was the beginning of, your question, did I seek recovery? Mm-hmm. I was sentenced to a class, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, 24 years old.
Right.
And I had to tell my boss that I needed to attend this class, let's say 6 consecutive Mondays for 2 hours. It was the first time, he let me go, but it was the first time I heard really the term alcoholic. And
Okay.
it was the first time that I began to question or be asked to question whether my drinking was abnormal, because up to that point, it was just, I was unlucky.
Right.
I wasn't getting the breaks.
Gotcha.
And so I attended those classes, and in it suggested we go to an AA meeting.
Okay.
I was living in Connecticut at the time, 1986. I kind of, we base, I was thinking today, you kind of can draw memories by the dates and where you were
Yeah.
in the court system or in your recovery
For
or
sure.
this or that or what trouble or what you were in. So anyway, I went to a meeting, maybe 2, and I showed up late, probably stayed to the end, but I'd smoked pot on the way. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to control my drinking, before knowing that that was a classic alcoholic thing.
Absolutely.
So that was it. That was my first, not seeking recovery, but being shown recovery. And I did that for 10 years.
Okay. Would you call yourself a dry drunk? Were you doing this when you were going to meetings and stuff? Were you doing your steps or anything like that?
So I was kind of a happy drunk, a little bit sad. I wasn't a mean. You get the mean, angry drunks. You get I know men who like to punch other guys in the face
Absolutely.
when they're drunk, and you get this guy, that
I'm an
guy.
angry alcoholic
Yeah, I
too.
agree. Yeah. I wasn't that
It depends on
angry.
what I drink, though.
I was more sad.
Okay.
And so I don't know that I identified as dry drunk, but I struggled with the control, and I would go in and out. I experimented. Near beer was very popular in the mid-'80s. Maybe it still is, and they had all kinds of brands and names. So I would do near beer with shots of tequila. That was my effort to control, with a little bit of pot here and there.
Gotcha.
And so I would put together times and lengths of, I didn't count so much, but it was just really, could you control it and not get in trouble, not get arrested, not lose your license. Ultimately, 10 years later, I was falling down drunk.
Gotcha.
35 years old, big job, traveling the world, I'm falling down drunk.
Do you have kids?
I don't.
Okay.
I have stepchildren.
Okay.
I have 2 stepchildren. I Met their mother in a bar.
Okay.
Right here, right on this corner. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Look at the memories come flooding back. It used to be called Hops. It
Okay.
was on the corner of Scottsdale and Camelback. Right
Wow.
here. Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember it well. January 1989.
I love it. I love it. So when do you jump into recovery that it's like a pivotal moment for you that you know like life is completely unmanageable and I have to get my shit together?
Happens over a period of 3 months in 1993.
Okay.
I'm controlling my drinking, not so well, as I just said. And I don't remember which happened first, but I think I go to AZ 88s here, and maybe still around in Phoenix, Scottsdale here. And I ended up ordering a martini. I didn't drink martinis, but I said, that looks good. And he said, it's very strong. It has 5 shots of liquor in it. Now, I'd been to enough Mothers Against Drunk Driving and
Right.
other classes to know I was probably drunk after 2 shots within an hour, and I was going to take 5 in one drink.
Gotcha.
And I proceeded to have 3. In the
3
next hour.
martinis.
3 martinis until I was blind drunk.
Gotcha.
And drove around in a blackout for 2 hours and hit a parked car head on.
Okay.
And I thought I was pulling into my driveway. That should have stopped me, but it didn't. And I don't know, a few months later, I was hosting an event in my job, and I went out. To this day, I couldn't tell you where I was, but I fell up the stairs going into this bar and smashed my face.
Wow.
Drove around all night, ended up on Lincoln here, drive with a gun to my head. A policeman had pulled me over. I was doing 90 miles an hour. I was on my way to the 3rd hospital.
Wow.
Because I needed a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
I wanted, in my mind, I needed a plastic surgeon.
So face is completely mangled and
And that was it. That was the beginning of the end. And,
Okay.
and with those events, I went back to the same boss I had said 10 years earlier in Connecticut. He's out here in Phoenix now, and I said, I need help. And he said, I thought you took care of that. And I said, I didn't do it well. And he supported me.
okay.
And I went to behavioral, Scottsdale or Samaritan Behavioral here
Okay.
on Miller
Okay.
and Scottsdale Road.
And you went
August of
through
1993.
and you went through detox?
No,
No,
I
You
wasn't
just-
that bad.
Okay.
I thought I'm not that bad,
Right.
so I'm going to do a day treatment.
Okay.
I didn't even want to check in for 30 days. I'll
Gotcha.
come at 9 and leave at 5.
Okay.
And they let me out the first day at 3. They showed us a creepy movie, Clean and Sober. Let us out early, and I stopped at the first Circle K on the
I
way
was gonna
home.
say, did you stop and get a drink? Cause
Oh, I got a lot to drink.
yeah.
And so I got
Did
back.
you go back the next day?
I did, and long story short, they threw me out. And the lady probably saved my life. She said, you can go get drunk, you can go home and sleep, or you can go to this meeting. And she wrote down the Valley Alano Club on Indian School at 56.
Okay.
And I walked in there on a hot August morning, 1993, and the club manager took me ultimately in his office, and he kind of 12-stepped me. He took me through the first 3 steps.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of my longer-term sobriety to
Okay.
this day.
Got you. So this time you really like planted both feet in.
I was afraid.
Okay. What were you afraid of?
I was afraid probably of dying. Probably, now I'm hitting cars, parked cars head
Right.
on. I had a younger sister. She claimed saving my life. A few people have, been instrumental. But I remember she looked at me once and she said, it's bad enough you might kill yourself, but it's terrible that you're going to kill somebody else. You're an
Absolutely.
ass. You're a jerk.
Yeah.
You need to stop.
Yeah.
And it made me angry. I told her to shut up. But somewhere in there, it kind of sunk in. And I think the other big catalyst was such a kind of a what would I say, a lightweight or not politically correct. I'm such a white boy. I called my mother and I said, Mother, I'm in trouble again. You know, I've hit a
Again.
again.
Yeah.
I've hit a part because she would always say, just don't drink so much.
Right.
Don't you better just control it.
Control
She's
it.
basically giving me the playbook, and I couldn't. And so I called her this time, and she said, you have a problem. And I was shocked that my mother thought I had a problem at 35 or 40 years old, whatever I was. And so that couple of hours at the Alano Club, the 30 days at Samaritan helped me read the big book, some therapy. I did some psychodrama, changed my life, where I think I was telling, you know, it was a terrible story, or it was a terrible unfinished business with my dad's death that they took me through that morning.
Okay.
And then helped me see afterwards how it was affecting me in the
Right.
That was spectacular. So really structured therapeutic work was a big part of my recovery.
For sure.
Getting a sponsor ultimately was a big part of my recovery.
Absolutely.
Reading the big book, page by page, word by word.
Right.
All the things I was taught about reading the big book.
Yeah.
I like to read.
Do you?
Of course, today, if you can't read, it can be read to you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
Read it.
no excuses.
Listen to it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you obviously, you know, you do step 12 and give it away, and you start sponsoring and helping other people. And what does that look like?
I had a good sponsor. I went to a big meeting. I was complaining one day. I rode my bicycle to Crossroads, and some man came and stuck his hand out and said hello, and I was complaining about riding my bike, and he said to me, but you're lucky. I said, why am I lucky? He said, because of that, you're going to have to ask people for help. You're going to need to ask for rides to meetings or rides home. You're going to have to humble yourself. And it kind of shifted me a little bit. I said, that's bullshit. But then I thought, okay. I think I was at work. I asked somebody for a ride way over here to Scottsdale, and I went to a meeting, and somebody suggested a big Friday night speakers meeting, and I went, and the guy speaking said to a group of some 300, he might be speaking to only one in the group.
Right.
And he hoped, and he was very calm, he said, and I swore he was speaking to me. And I went up to him after the meeting, and I asked him to be my sponsor. He had some conditions, but I accepted. You know, the conditions were that I see him at meetings. He was over on the west side and such and such.
So you make that attempt, and
I did. And he sent a guy who started to pick me up, Art Lindsay. He's long past. Art was kind of a well-known guy in Phoenix, AA.
Got you.
1984. He looked like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He was married to a woman, Betty Simpson. And between them, they probably had 100 years sobriety.
wow.
And I think Wade's still around.
Mm-hmm.
And Don Garib was my sponsor, Don G. And Art would pick me up and take me down to 4848 South Phoenix on Wednesday nights.
Love
Here's
that.
a guy with 40 years sobriety, and he would pick me up on Wednesday
And take you.
and take me to a meeting.
It's a
every
great
week.
meeting.
It was a great meeting. It was
It's
kind of
still
a
a
little
great
rough for
meeting.
me, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but they said we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
And he would, you know, we would just talk shit on the way down there. It was very helpful.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that
was-
meeting is still a really great meeting. I go down there every once in a while. And have you been back?
Not in quite a while.
Okay.
I mean, I've been to meetings all over the world,
Yeah.
though. So, another thing that was very helpful in who you meet and where you meet.
Right.
So I'm going to meetings now. I'm doing 90 and 90. I'm speaking with, I'm hanging out with Don. I'm starting to work my steps.
For sure.
Everybody has different ways. Art was traveling around the world. He was with an aviation company. I was with an aviation company. And one thing I learned, they'd say, you can go to a meeting anytime you want, but it can be the last thing you do during the day, but just make sure it's the first thing you know you're going to do.
Right.
Because if I left it to chance, maybe I didn't get to a meeting. If I said, I'm going to the 11 o'clock meeting tonight, committed to it, I went.
Absolutely.
So I've been to meetings in Greece, and I said, but I'm traveling the world. And Art said there's meetings all over the world.
Everywhere.
And he had started many of them. So I would show up, and I'd say I was from Phoenix, and some people would say, do you know Art? He was here, and I said, yes, I do. So it was
awesome.
fantastic. So the first years were amazing.
Where have you been to go to some meetings outside of the U.S.?
Sure. So it can be fun because there's a fellowship, right? The fellowship of AA. Probably one of the funniest, sort of say funny, not funny, but I was in Malaysia,
Okay.
and they're not. It was different. It was again now early mid '80s, and I said I was looking for an Alcoholics Anonymous, and they were a little confused, and they said, "Are you sick?" And I said, yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
But it's this thing called AA and a meeting. Can you find me a meeting? And they found me a meeting in downtown Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
And I was at a hotel by the airport. So they arranged a taxi, but they said this is in a very bad area. And I said, that's okay, I'm going.
I'm going. God's got me.
Driver, as we got closer and closer, it was at a Catholic church in a Muslim country, so a little bit unusual, right?
Yeah.
And he says, this is a bad area. I really don't recommend you go here. And I said, I'm going. It's getting to be dark, 6 o'clock, whatever it was. And as we pulled into the parking lot of the church, in a pretty big city, right?
Yeah.
It's a metropolis. And these 5 Malay guys start coming across. It's getting dark. They're a little rough looking. The guys, my driver's eyes are getting this big. And as I get out of the car, they come over, they greet me, hands out. Hey, are you here for the meeting? Let me show you where. He couldn't believe it.
He was
So
like, what
I'm in
the
the
heck?
worst part of town in a foreign country, head down to the basement for a meeting.
That's amazing.
And it was amazing.
That's
And
amazing.
then I hung out with them after. I've been to a meeting in a bomb shelter in Israel.
Wow.
I've been to a meeting in Paris. I've been to a meeting in Australia, New Zealand, anywhere. There's a meeting.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Change. It was
Even on the cruise ship. Me and my husband went on a cruise 2 years ago, and every morning there was an AA meeting, and I'm like, wow, like you can find them anywhere.
right on the agenda. Friends of Bill W.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I've been on those as well.
Wow, I love that. So obviously sobriety over there is like way different. And what about New Zealand and Australia? Like, what's that? What was that like?
I think sometimes their meetings, and we come from here now, of course, Phoenix. I don't know. There at the time we used to say, oh, there's some 300 meetings a week, or now it's maybe a day. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I
so
think
in
it's
some
like
of these
200.
places, there may be one meeting a week, or there's 28 people or
Gotcha.
14 who show up. So it's very
Very
limited.
small.
So
Yeah.
they welcomed guests, but it comes to be, it's a meeting. The
Yeah.
format is the same. Everything is consistent.
Right.
And yes,
I love it.
I love
I
it.
love it. That's awesome. So what does sobriety look like for you today?
It's the program. At a point, my life changed significantly in my sobriety, probably 5 or 10 years. I still continued to have hardship. Relationships were tough on me. I would be hurt and sad. And when you don't have a drug or alcohol to
Numb those
numb
feelings.
you up, what are you going to do? You
Right.
just got to, it
Right.
can be terrible.
For sure.
And what happened? What happened 10 years ago? A few things. I did read Bill W.'s autobiography. That was really
Okay.
interesting for me. And I read Letters from the Heart, which were Bill Wilson, I think he wrote 64 articles for the Grapevine.
Okay.
And this is a compilation of all of his writings. And it was really interesting, that story. And supposedly, the last 4 or 5 were going to be another book he was thinking about writing, which was going to be, perhaps a working title was Emotional Security, the Next Frontier. So I think at some point I've shifted from there's no desire to use or
Right.
to drink.
The drugs and the alcohol have
the
been,
compulsion was lifted. And
for sure.
had some nice friends who wanted to know when it happened, and they were angry that they don't remember the moment when the
Right.
spirit left their body. But at some point, and my sponsor used to say, on our birthdays, 30-day chip, whatever the chips are, right? 30, 60, 90.
Yeah.
And he'd say, I'm not impressed. And it was a little bit hard. But he said, I've seen too many people, and for the alcoholic, the addict, 30 days, 60, and 90, it's just a rest. You're just getting up enough steam for another good run.
For
I
sure.
don't care where you are. But at 1 year, he would say, I'm impressed. And he'd get a birthday card. And
Yeah.
it was kind of special.
It was a big time.
It was. And I think to live that first year and do so many things without
Getting loaded. Yeah,
was a big deal.
for sure.
And so, what does it look like now? Another book really changed my life, Drop the Rock
Okay.
on the sixth
the
step.
6 and 7.
Yep.
Yep.
And it just says, if you've done all this work, and I had done, and we've all, so many of us, done a lot of work.
For sure.
But it becomes a mental shift that you're no longer this person. And Drop the Rock, as I recall, it said, if you've done this work, if you believe in the higher power, if you have turned your will and your life over, if you've made a fearless, you've done everything up to the 6th and
Absolutely.
7th, ask God to humbly remove these defects of character, you're the new person. It is kind of a Christian way to be reborn. It's a spiritual way. It's not even Christian. It's just spiritual. It's
I
God.
agree.
God as you understand it. And that shifted me because I decided I was no longer that person. So I do live on an AA lifestyle. I do try to,
Practice the principles in all of your affairs.
and I had to look up what the principles were.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Right.
And so the principles of AA are things such as courage. And so when do we practice? You're practicing being courageous every day. I'd have to go back and look through my
For
notes because
sure.
I'd left every day. What does that mean?
What does that mean
it
again?
mean
Yeah.
to practice the principles? And if you look up the principles of AA and see how they are affecting your life, it's a different action than being sober.
Right.
Being sober, we abstain, right? We get a daily reprieve based on a spiritual condition, and we don't use.
Right. I can tell you the pivotal point in my sobriety, like I just celebrated 8 years in November, but my biggest one was, yes, like you said, you can put the drugs and the alcohol down, but mine was when I was 5 years sober and I got baptized. And it was like going under that water and coming back up, I could finally breathe. Everything that was holding me down for these last 5 years of the guilt and the shame from choosing men and choosing drugs over my kids, that was finally washed away and I could breathe. And I was like, I wasn't like gasping anymore. So what do you believe, first of all, do you believe that people go through like these ups and these downs in sobriety? Like people tell me 5 year, 7 year, 10 year. I've seen 15 year, 20 year is a big time also, where people go through ups and downs in their sobriety and some fall off. Have you went through any of that?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it and I've heard stories, and so I think this is why it's important to stay in touch and
Absolutely.
to stay active. What did I want to add? A whole bunch of thoughts there. But,
Yeah.
let me regroup for a moment. sure there's an up and a down, and I do
Absolutely.
like to continue to read. So there's a lot of books referenced in the big book,
Okay.
and I started to read some of those. And in fact, I think Sermon on the Mount is one. It just reappeared the other day. I'm starting to read it.
Okay.
A lot of it is in the metaphysical way suggested, as we think, so it shall be. So I think there is this necessity of changing. And another book I read, which I just looked her up yesterday, but I forgot her name. But she was an addict, and she did this work. And I had this story in my mind, even sober for many, many years, of being wounded. And apparently I would say it a lot, and I was doing some other work. I was doing some life coaching work, and it was always related to relationships and things. And I would say I'm deeply wounded. And so anyway, the woman said, "Is that true?" And, you say that a lot. And I
Yeah.
said, "I didn't know I said it a lot, but yes." And I told her some of the things, my dad's death and women breaking up with me and
Yeah.
divorce and such and such. And so if it's true, because sometimes if it's not true, we can just eliminate the thought. That's not true. Stop saying it
Right.
800 times a day in your head. So she said it was true. She agreed. And she said, "How does that make you feel?" And I said, my chin goes down, my chest collapses, my brow furrows. It's painful.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh my God, it sounds terrible." And you repeat this to yourself all the time,
Words
apparently.
are
And I s-
powerful.
Yeah, so powerful, the words. And so she helped me work through to where I came up, and with a little bit of help, instead of saying, "I'm deeply wounded," I came up with, "I'm deeply healing." And it changed my life overnight, in a moment, not overnight, in a second, in a
Yeah.
heartbeat, because I don't ever really tell myself I'm deeply wounded unless I'm telling that story. But from that moment, I believed I'm deeply healing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where my sobriety is today. It is the emotional sobriety.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
It is working with others. So going back to Crossroads and reminding, right? Because working with others tells us there's nothing better suited to helping yourself. It may not help the other guy, because I've sponsored some people, sure. They don't often listen
Right.
and do what you say.
Right.
And especially some, I don't know who, today everything, it's not different, but there's a different hardness to it, right?
For
With
sure.
some of the drug choices and the mental stuff. I don't know. I don't always identify with it. But my sponsor said, "You need to get thicker skin." That's what he told me. Keep working with them because it's helping you. You may help
It's helping
somebody
you
else.
stay sober for that day. And
But-
yeah.
But get thicker skin. And so I continue to try to work with others, and I listen to them, and
Okay.
and I try to lead a pretty simple life,
Yeah.
but I think differently.
Okay. Can we talk more about the emotional sobriety for people that don't know about it? Can you touch on that?
Oof. Well, I think it takes practice. I think right, the human element is kind of interesting. And especially in today's environment, what we're listening to, what we're watching,
For sure.
what we tune into. I've turned off a lot of things.
Okay.
Prayer and meditation, continue to seek through prayer and meditation. What does that mean?
Right.
Can we meditate? How do we grow emotionally? I think we read books on growing emotionally. We find people of like mind.
Absolutely.
Boundaries was another good topic for me, and I found a single book on boundaries that I probably either read most of it or enough of it to where I came to understand that not only did I need boundaries to protect myself, but that I was often wrong in crossing over other people's boundaries.
Gotcha.
I was equally guilty of allowing my boundaries to be broken by people who were being abusive, and I didn't know it.
And you didn't know
I'm
it.
trying
yeah.
to manage that, and
For sure.
kind of a people pleaser, and not always a good way. for my own good, purpose. I would try to please to get what I wanted.
For sure.
But boundaries are another important thing. So I think emotional sobriety based on boundaries, based on, it goes back to the first steps too, though, right? None of this can be built later and continued through prayer and meditation.
Have you seen the EA book before? They have an Emotionals Anonymous big book.
No.
Yeah, my mom's into that, so I was blown away. But I mean, it's all based from the big book.
It's all based from, and I love the story of how it popped out in the Oxford group. The Oxford where AA came out of, and Bill Wilson's in New York, and his wife's dad is a prominent physician, and Dr. Silkwood, and the sister Ignatius in the hospital.
Yeah.
He'd been there so many times, and it comes to him.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd been going to a few meetings of what ultimately became the Oxford group, but they were a big thing in the 20s. And the premise was everybody in the world had a problem.
Right.
And we had to come to understand what our weakness was, to seek out another person and God, but it was a very Christian God, and to atone and share with another, and then to go on and sin no more, pretty much, and lead a better life. And
Right.
then Bill Wilson wakes up one day in this white lightning moment and decides we need 12 steps, not 4 steps, and he turns it into what became AA. A lot of great facilities here, and you got the Meadows, you got Crossroads,
Absolutely.
you have Samaritan Behavioral, St. Luke's used to be, I don't know where they are, but free meetings and all this stuff. Hazleton in Minnesota comes. And there was a guy up there, and he wrote a book, or his thing was, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Right.
And that became kind of a premise for me, too.
Okay.
And so I'm a big proponent of change.
Okay.
I like it. I think I can do it. It's my sign. I'm a water sign. I'm very malleable. But if nothing changes, nothing changes. So
Right.
what are you going to change?
Right.
Everything.
Everything. We do. We need to change everything.
Pretty much.
Obviously, I mean, getting sober and stuff, but not to be a dirtbag and all of that as well, Like, I don't want to be a piece of shit anymore. I don't want to lie. I don't want to, forget about my kids and go and suppress
Where are we
those.
selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid? That
Very
fourth
true.
column of the
Absolutely.
the fearless and searching moral inventory.
So over the last 30 plus years that you've been sober, have you seen a big shift in like meetings and just the fellowship itself?
I'm probably not as active right now as I need to be.
Okay.
I thought coming down, I could be, I should be. I see something that I think the shift is in the transition from treatment centers from 30, 60, 90 days to now. How do you transition? Where can you live? Where can you work? And what I do notice is that still, we're very smart people. We're hardworking. We're thoughtful. We're nice. Yes, there is a lot of fear and insecurity and dishonesty that needs to go. But I feel there needs to be some improvement in the transition beyond treatment.
Meaning like them transitioning from treatment into maybe a sober living or?
Well, and I don't understand sober living. I think I keep hearing about it, but I see this as a big stress point for people. I'm finished here. Where am I going? And what are those facilities and even the rules? There was a lot in AA to stay separate. It was pretty much a don't drink, go to meetings, but did you have a job? I don't see a big shift. I think the bottom line is don't use. I don't know how tough it is. There were times.
Yeah.
The first, I told you, August, I'm still smoking pot. Pot maintenance program, they called it. I didn't know.
Cali sober.
Yeah. And I couldn't find pot one day.
Okay.
And so I went out and drank, and I got rather drunk, and then I found pot. And I came to, that was April 10th,
Yeah.
1994, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. And that's when I thought I need to eliminate everything
Yeah,
and just live on air and water, so to speak.
for sure.
And the friend of mine, Danny, used to say in the big book, there's a line, I'm pretty sure it's in there, I looked it up, and it says, is there anything that will replace alcohol? And it says, yes, the fellowship of AA. And so I think that part remains a consistency.
Right.
Or the book describes, we're like people on a sinking ship, and we get a lifeboat, and either you get on, and now we have that common understanding, and so we have a certain identity with each other.
Right.
And to me, that's the biggest thing. There's no other magic to it.
Right.
You show up, you listen, you do what you're told. Now, I say you do what you're told. I was told I thought a right way. Read the book. I was told get on your knees and say the third step prayer every day for 30 days. And I know it.
Yeah.
You all know it.
Absolutely.
If you did your homework, you know the third step prayer, and you can say it right now.
For sure. Yeah. I wanted to talk about this book that you have right here, because this book, my husband loves books too, and he actually has that book. And can we talk about that? Because,
I don't know if you can show it
yeah, no,
anywhere.
we can see it.
You can zoom it in. So
What is this?
So I got this at probably 30 years ago. I was invited. My sponsor was the chair for Salt River Intergroup 55th anniversary of AA in
The roundup.
It was a roundup, and it was
Yep.
an anniversary meeting, and he was the chair. And later, I think I got to be the chair at 58th or something.
Yes.
And in it, they had this book on a table with memorabilia, and it's called The Book That Started It All, the original working manuscript of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
And it is the working manuscript. So it takes what was the first pass, and then supposedly, as I read the preface, Bill Wilson put it out to maybe the first 10 or 12 members of AA, Dr. Bob and all the ones from Ohio that, built up. And some chapters are untouched,
Where
and
it just.
others take what was
love it.
originally written, and you can see the strike-throughs.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
To how the book that we all read and come to cite and reference and say the book
For
says this
sure.
and that.
It's
I read it. It just was such a fun book.
to see what it's like now compared to, the big book obviously hasn't changed a lot. Do you think in the future that they're going to come out with another big book, a different big book that's more in our...
There's a few old-timey words. In the book, the stories in the back have changed.
Yeah.
I was told read the first
164,
page,
yep.
154.
Yep.
And if you read 5 pages a day, you're going to read the big book in 30 days.
Gotcha.
That's how I read it the first time.
Okay.
Got me through. That's where I saw, if you're not controlling, if you'd lost the ability to control, maybe you were an alcoholic.
For
You
sure.
crossed that line. My sponsor said you cannot avoid the preface, and now the first 3 prefaces, which include the doctor's opinion, tells you the growth of AA,
Yep.
and then the stories in the back.
Absolutely.
I don't think it would change. I don't think there's a replacement for
I don't
big
think so
book.
either.
It's divinely inspired. Look up the old-timey words or just replace another.
They even have a little book that you can it'll break down everything for you. Another one that I just started reading, have you heard of the Fat Book?
No.
So the Fat Book is a big book, but it has the scriptures in it of comparing. So it's the big book, but it has scriptures in it that are pertaining to what is being said in the big book. And I was like, wow, because I'm on this spiritual era right now, like going down, learning more about God?
I went to a few meetings, and I would have my acquaintances, and I liked for a while to play golf, and I was playing golf. And in fact, one man who was very prominent in Crossroads, Bob Cox, was part of this group. He's long deceased now, and a few other guys. And they had a book similar, and it actually drew some controversy because there was this, you can't call that an AA meeting and pull this book out and base your meeting on that book.
Got you.
Because of the
Yeah.
God as you understand it. And I know there was some debate,
For sure.
and at the Salt River, when you get those people, and they will debate those type of things.
For sure.
And in Bill Wilson's writings about the separation and the anonymity and all kinds. So I like it. There's a definite draw. There's so much to learn. I would go to big book study meetings.
Okay.
Those are always fun, where somebody maybe would be assigned a chapter, and then they would come back the next week and they would read through and sort of
Highlight
and read between the lines, and what does this mean and what does that mean?
For sure.
But I think the whole thing, and doing the steps well, but if you take that first step, and I always forget, does it say we had to smash the illusion or the delusion that we could drink like others? What the fuck?
That we can drink like a gentleman. Yes.
That we could drink like
Yeah.
others, and we watch others take a drink with impunity, and so I remember just making this very visual smashing in my mind of this idea that I could ever do it. And it's not forever, it's just for today.
Right.
It's right now. Don used to say, just postpone it in an hour, after I eat something, after I go to a meeting tomorrow. Right. And he was kind of hard about people, yes, keep coming back. Or for people who slip, that's all right, just keep it. He'd say, no, it's not okay. You know what?
Right.
You might not make it back.
Yeah.
And I would think, well, some people don't really care, do they?
No.
Because their life is so hard.
Right.
But others wait for the miracle to happen. But there's a point where, if you want it, and it's not because you need it, right? All that cliche, are they cliches, right? But AA is for people who want it, not for people who need it.
Who need it, absolutely.
And I feel very fortunate that I got it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I can't imagine my life any other way.
Right. Me too.
It's still difficult. Life's difficult. We're human.
For sure.
Right? So the emotional, very much. I try to think differently today.
Amen.
More and more.
I agree. If somebody was struggling, before we close up, what is some words of encouragement that you could, pass along to them?
Right. I think I'm paraphrasing, but it works. It really does.
It does.
Here are the things we did that are
Yes.
suggested as a path of recovery.
Yes.
And it lists it right out. The chapter to the agnostic, the whole religious thing, if that's blocking you, how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed the path. And there are some mental issues, and so right, get hopefully a good doctor, be a good advocate for yourself.
For sure.
But do the work. There's no shortcuts.
Do you know Code 112?
No.
Code 112. So if you open up your big book and on page 112, I learned it from an old timer, and I'll never forget. Rest in peace, Jeff Davis. But he said, read the first 3 words, and it says, read this book. And I was like, okay, I get it now. He's like, you'll never forget it. And I always write it in all the big books that I get and I give to my girls. I crease that page and I say Code 112, read this book. And obviously your life will change. But like you said, you have to want it.
You have to want it and read the book. it's step by step. But even in reading the book, Don was very particular, but he would say, you know what, if there's a period, you stop at the period. If there's a comma, you pause. If a word is italicized, it means it's important. And he read us the book. I had a sponsor who read me the book. We showed up every week for whatever it was, 12, 15, 18 weeks. And
My
I
husband
tried
does
reading
that,
it
yeah.
to, I got a group of sponsees, and I was reading them the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helped them, but it sure helped
You,
me.
for sure.
And so today, what would my advice be? Just, just do it.
For sure.
First things first.
Yeah.
The slogans.
Yeah.
Watch who you're hanging around with.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you so much, and I'm grateful that you had some time to come on here and just share. I love it so much. And if you are struggling and you need help, you can always reach out to us at thecrossroadsinc.org. We are at 2002 East Osborne Road, and we are open Monday through Saturday. We ask that you're there at 7 a.m. Also, again, thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate you. And with that, I'll pass. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Recovery on Air, the official podcast of Crossroads Addiction Rehabilitation, with your host, Kristen Day. Join us next time as we continue our candid discussions about addiction and recovery. Listen 24/7 anytime to this or any of our shows online at starworldwidenetworks.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.